Together we are Media Boomtown, and that's a video production company in Harrisburg, PA. We've known each other for probably about maybe 12 to 15 years, but we've been a full-time video production company together for about 5 years. We started the company about 7 years ago, but it was, for the first 2 years, it was really just like a hobby company, like a shell to do cool things we wanted to do. And then in 2009, the opportunity presented itself to kind of run with it and take it full time and quit our day jobs. And so with the spousal blessing, we did. We enjoy all the things we do. You know, they're all different. Sometimes we're doing corporate videos and internal communications videos that may not seem exciting, but you know what, they needed it done, and we know how to do it. And it has its own reward. It's helpful to, or it feels good to help people out when they don't know how to do video.
Yeah, it really runs the gamut of all shapes and sizes and things like that, and it's fun because that keeps it interesting and keeps it, you know, every day is different. You know, you're not the wedding guys, or you're not the, you know, commercial guys. You know, you get to, you know, have your hand in a bunch of different pots, and once in a while you get to make a film. So.
What we did here was we were hired to videotape a band's reuniting performance. And what ended up happening is we found out there was so much excitement about this band and so much interest that we peeled the onion back a little bit and looked into why and their history a little bit, and basically came out with a documentary at the end. The whole thing started in 2010 because that's when the band was getting back together to play again, and that's when they contacted us to record them. And it took until about this spring to get it completely done. It turns out that the timing was good though, because now their recording is 20 years old. 20 is a nice round number. Now the kind of music they were playing is 20 years old, you know, and that's got a spotlight shined on it again. And so.
Yeah, it's actually, you know, this is kind of a watershed year. I mean, last fall, you know, we celebrated, you know, they were a grunge band really before grunge was a thing. So they, you know, we had, last fall we had the 20th anniversary of Nevermind, 20th anniversary of Pearl Jam, 10. So, you know, that's kind of stuff is coming back in the spotlight. So, you know, now it's, you know, it's been 20 years, it's time to rediscover Red Weasel, and that's really the goal of this. Well, Ed had some personal connections with the group, and sort of ships passing in the night kind of thing, and he, you know, spent some time in Salisbury, Maryland, where they kind of formed and made their name.
The band was practicing in Salisbury, so we did a lot of that quickly in one weekend. Like, I went down the weekend of their rehearsals for a couple of days, and quickly when they weren't rehearsing, hey, let's swing over to the House of Rock, you know, or hey, Chet, let me interview outside the pizza shop, you know, where we had dinner, you know. So a lot of it was grabbed on the go when we could, the same weekend that they were rehearsing.
But then we got a lot of the old stuff from them. You know, we had archival video and the old pictures and stuff like that. So that really helps, you know, set the scene back in the early 90s, late 80s, early 90s.
Most of the people in the band didn't really think they deserved all this attention. So we actually had to do a little bit of arm twisting and assure them that, you know, just based on the emails and Facebook posts that we're seeing, you know, you may not have been the Beatles, but you were something to these people at that time. You were something fairly significant to a good handful of people, and it's a story worth telling.
Yeah, and we weren't even sure we had a documentary up to a point. It was only really when we talked to Simon Jacobson, who was part of the DC hardcore scene in the late 80s or early 80s, that, and he produced the band's first recording, first official recording. It was only then that we kind of, that he would really solidified things.
Simon Jacobson was in the band SOA, State of Alert, which was Henry Rollins' first band on the Discord label in DC. And so, in addition to just his recollections of producing the recording, I think talking to Simon really went a long way for validating that this was a story worth telling, because here's a guy with, connections to some, big people in the hardcore scene, and he took enough of an interest in these 5 guys to produce their record. So he really believed in it, and I think that goes a long way for the devil's advocate factor too. Like, well, who cares about these guys? Well, someone big in DC did, So.
I'm the father to Donald Trump. Baby, won't learn the truth. Then now she's in love and it's love. I know where you're gonna go. I know where you're gonna go. I know where you're coming from. Do you know where I'm coming from?
The biggest challenge in these types of projects is figuring out where to start. Documentary film is different from like a fictional movie, because you gather everything kind of first, and from there you might have an outline or an idea of where you want to go or where you want to take the story. But when you're working in a fictional film, you take your script and that's your Bible, and you're producing that. Documentary, you kind of gather everything, see what you have, and then figure out how the story unfolds from there. So, once we had everything in-house, once we had all our interviews and the performance, one of the biggest challenges is figuring out what's important here, what are people going to connect with, and how do we bring this thing and make it interesting for everybody to watch.
Yeah, I think the hardest thing for me, since I lived in Salisbury and I knew these people, was to make objective decisions about what was important and what anyone else could relate to. And so I deferred a lot of that decision making to him, because he didn't live there, he didn't know these people, he never heard their music before. So he was a great sounding board for like, well, what do you think? Is this interesting? Does anybody else care about this?
So going through the process is really enjoyable. There's times when you're editing that you're really excited, and so it's a rewarding journey throughout different things. But there is a big relief when you're like, okay, now that's done. But now we're in the marketing phase of the film, so it's still a living, breathing project. It's going to be a rewarding process ongoing here for the next 6 months to a year that we'll be promoting it and working on getting the word out. We ran a successful Kickstarter campaign and raised over $5,000. Got some good press out of that, just the process of the campaign, and then now we're following up with those kind of people and trying to get the word out that, hey, we're done, it's available.
You can get it directly from us, right, on the website?
Yeah, the website's sweetrockdoc.com. And there's buttons on every single page on the website. It talks a little bit about the history of the band, a little bit about the film. I think we have some of the news articles from the Kickstarter campaign up there, and we're looking at a bunch of other stuff. The music is up on CD Baby. The remastered tracks are available for download there. You can also purchase the hard copy through there.
And while it's an internet age for shopping and everything, I mean, we're not going to kill ourselves too much on this, but we are going to get it in select retail.
And it's beautiful. It's a really nice looking package.
We spent fast in the cash right on the vacation. Toast the beans and the bully and drinks. Met the rains that Waterloo Station. Back in we strip at the Boston party. But Waterloo fails, I play a styles. Even was sick, but we need